Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon to you all, and welcome to ABP Education. My name is Prabjeet Singh, and now I'd like to introduce to you the next webinar in the Campus to Career series. But before that, I'll take a minute of yours to introduce abpeducation.com. It's a newly launched education portal from the ABP group, and it deals in higher education news, and everything that happens in the world of higher education is covered by abpeducation.com, and including global universities abroad. And abpeducation.com is powered by the Telegraph and anandabazar.com. And now coming back to the Campus to Career series, which started on August 12 with the Bengal Education Leaders Summit, with the State Education Minister, Mr. Partho Chatterjee, attending it. Today's subject is Follow Your Dreams, Films, Videography, and Photography. With this, I'd like to introduce to everyone here our panelists. First on the panel is Mr. Arindam Sil, actor, director, and producer. Feature films have seen commercial success as well as critical acclaim. Some of his notable works include Aborto, Ebar Shabor, Har Har Bomkesh Porbo, Durga Shohai, and Mitin Mashi. Welcome, Mr. Sil. On the panel is Ms. Ashwika Kapur, wildlife filmmaker and science communicator. At 27, Ashwika became India's first woman to win the Green Oscar or Panda Award in a global category, the highest award in nature filmmaking in the world. Welcome. Next on the panel is Mr. Gaurav Markan, professional imaging expert, Canon India. Markan comes with over 19 years of experience in media and imaging industry. He has contributed to prestigious books such as Himalaya's Adventures, Meditations, Life with Ruskin Bond, and various leading magazines such as Cinematography Art. Welcome, Mr. Markan. And now I would like to introduce our moderator, Mr. Prateen D. Gupta, a writer and director. Mr. Gupta was a journalist with the Telegraph newspaper for over a decade, writing primarily about films. His feature film debut as writer-director, Panch Adhyay, was picked as the new voice in Indian cinema at Mami Mumbai Film Festival. Shahe Bibi Ghulam, his second film, picked up 6 trophies at the Filmfare Awards East, including Best Screenplay. His films are streaming on Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, and Disney Hotstar. With this, I'd like to hand over the session to our moderator, Mr. Gupta, and have a great one.
Thank you, Prabjeet. Welcome, everyone. This is the first webinar that I think these 4 of us are doing, part of this Campus to Career 2020 series of webinars by ABP Education. So this one's called Follow Your Dream. I think whenever we talk about movies, photography, films, cinema, there is the concept of dream which immediately comes, because this is not something like being a doctor or engineer, I guess, which is a career. And this was always looked upon as something which is a dream, which is not something so close to reality. If you are a good student, you are going to be a doctor or engineer. But things have changed. I'll start by talking a little bit about myself. When I graduated from Xavier's back in 2003, when I had the option of doing a lot of things, but I chose this career because I was just passionate about films, and one thing led to another. I became a journalist with Telegraph. I started writing about films. That naturally led me to writing scripts, and that one day became, naturally to the direction of filmmaking. Now, today the situation has changed. Someone graduating now, someone looking to get into college now, just passing +2. I think looking at films as a career option is a different ball game. It's not just a dream. It's a very viable, very new career option, which wasn't the case a couple of decades back. I will start with Arindam Da, Arindam Sil, a very senior colleague in our industry, one of the most successful filmmakers in the Bengali film industry. So Arindam Da, now a lot of people who are going to be watching this webinar, they're watching it now, some will watch it later. How realistic is it for someone to think of a career in the Bengali film industry behind the camera, in whatever discipline? Is it a realistic thought or is it still a dream? How do you look at it?
Quite a tough question to start off with. It's like coming up with one of those Walker Yunus in the first over. Yeah. Because if I criticize this question, then I wouldn't be faithful to my industry. But I think we, as you very rightly, Prateen, at the very outset of this discussion, you so very rightly used this word about dreams, and the topic as such is follow your dreams. We are actually dream merchants, we are dream sellers, and we may not be bound by boundaries like regions. We create cinema, and that cinema is for mankind. So anything from any corner of the earth, whoever does it, is actually doing world cinema. Let's get that clear, because for ages, we are used to being categorized as regional cinema, blah, blah, blah. So it's very important that we rise above that, in the sense whatever I say today, or whatever I talk, is about young people who are interested in making this as a career. And I'm actually speaking for them. So let us be very clear in our mind that our focus will have to be that big. We can start from Kolkata. We can start from Chennai. We can start from Bangalore or Hyderabad. But irrespective of that, let us have our focus that big. See, the brightest of examples is one of our speakers today, Ashwika. She was one of my assistants earlier, and I met her on the floor of as an assistant of one of our friends, Aniruddha Chaudhary. She went on in her right sphere, her right focus, and she went on. You went out from this state, from this Kolkata. You yourself, Prateen, went out, and your script got accredited in the right kind of places. So let us not be, let us not ever feel that, okay, Hollywood mein sab kuch acha banta hai, and Mumbai mein sab kuch acha banta hai. You know, if we can make the right kind of cinema, the right kind of content from Kolkata, from anywhere in the world, we can make ourselves visible. Having said that, we need to prepare ourselves. This is one particular form of profession where every day, every single day, you have to better yourself. Even for a Farhan Akhtar, even for an Ashutosh Gaurikar, even for a Sanjay Leela Bansali, even for a Christopher Nolan. Everybody has to be better, and every one of them have to do something better than their previous work in order to exist. So coming to your question about how feasible, it is 100% feasible on one end, and other end, it is not that easy as easy it would have been on a larger platform. We all have to accept this. If it is Mumbai, it is easier. If it is Hollywood, it is more easier, because the scope is more. So for the most talented to be noticed, it is even easier.
Right.
At the same time, when I say this, there is another aspect of working in a smaller industry. Payments would be less, but maybe if you are true to your work and if you are better than others, you'll be very easily noticeable. So for a launching platform and for someone to be behind the camera, that's what your question was, Pratim. So we are talking about the technical sphere. I think it's absolutely feasible. If we can give examples of people like Obhik Mukhopadhyay to start with, such an incredible cinematographer who is right now one of the most sought after cinematographers in the country. But Obhik is a product from this part. It is just because his photography was a niche better than many others, he got noticed easily. If we see that a major section of technicians right now doing really good work in Mumbai are actually from Kolkata. So coming back to your question, and I'll keep this short for now,
Yeah.
is that to have it as a launching pad, you have a scope of getting yourself noticed. But everything in regards to becoming a technician or somebody related to cinema lies in your hands and your hands only, because you have to be better than many. And when I say many, it is many, many, many.
True, true, very true. I'll
Thank you.
just, before going to Ashwika, I would like to say that one of the common myths about the world of films and the world of cinema is that সবাই পারে, মানে anybody can do it. মানে you don't need to be educated in it, you don't need to study it, you don't need to assist somebody. Just sit in an armchair and they think I can make a better Bomkesh than Mr. Seal. So this whole thought process, anybody can be a filmmaker. I want to throw this to Ashwika. Ashwika, the first thing under your name is qualified science communicator and natural history filmmaker. So if you can shortly say how these two things are, merge in your career day to day, and do you think it is important to go in a class and study what you have studied, or do you need to go out in the field and learn it on the job?
Right. Okay. So firstly, let me answer a question that I think a lot of people will be wanting to know is what is science communication in the first place? Science communication, as the term itself suggests, is when you take a scientific subject and package it in a way that is digestible by the regular public, which means that if there's a very complex something on, just think of any scientific subject, say on astronomy, or something even medical or otherwise. It's how do you package a scientific subject and make it entertaining, put a story to it, put a narrative to it, and make it accessible and understandable by normal people. Now, one of the branches of science communication is nature filmmaking. It's wildlife filmmaking. It's the stuff that we see on TV. It's the stuff that you see on Netflix and TV, and documentaries about animals, about the natural world and the animal kingdom. So I am a postgraduate in science communication, and my specialization is in wildlife and nature filmmaking. What was the second part of your question again?
The need for in-class education.
Absolutely.
Vis-a-vis, on the field.
I'm very glad you've asked this question, because something like science communication and wildlife filmmaking is a very specialized field. So it's all well for it to sound quite exciting and adventurous and glamorous when you like, oh wow, wildlife filmmaker, that sounds like a fun life. But the thing is, the most important thing initially is to be able to know whether you are cut out for it. And that's where I think before an education, before you actually jump into a career, into a education and specialization in terms of a post-graduation or something that is sort of learning experience, I would strongly recommend field experience. Because like I said, wildlife filmmaking might sound really exciting on paper, and it is exciting, but you have to have a certain wiring for it. And this has nothing really to do with just what I do. This has to do with commercial cinema as well. It's got to do with advertising. It's got to do with journalism. And so coming back to how I went about it was, I've always had a major love for animals and always had an inclination towards filmmaking, as Arindam Uncle himself said, that I've known him since I was a child and then ended up as an assistant on one of his sets. And so I've done a whole lot of things before I went into wildlife filmmaking. I gathered as much experience as possible. And even while I was gathering experience in things like, say, journalism, hard journalism, it was a really good learning experience because I also realized what I was cut out to do and what I didn't really like to do. So with something like wildlife filmmaking, experience is key, not just because it helps you increase your skills and hone your skills, but it's also a really good eye-opener. Are you able, for example, to wake up at 3 in the morning, pack your stuff and be on location, sitting in a hide, getting chewed up by mosquitoes and insects you haven't ever seen in your life, pretty much getting eaten alive, inside one hide with no communication with anybody, with no mobile, nothing, all day, and look, basically stare out at grass to film an animal that may or may not turn up that day. So it's a very tough field. So just like any other fields, like even filmmaking, even commercial filmmaking, as he was talking about, it requires a certain level of tenacity and passion and drive to be able to do it. So I genuinely think it's a matter of balance between experience and then doing a course to master yourself. To master the skill and to better yourself in what you do. But the work experience is key, for sure.
Right. Thanks, Ashwika. Going to Gaurav now. Gaurav, you are into both the creative side and the non-creative side when it comes to your role in Canon. I believe you've been a professional photographer for years now, more than I think 15, 16 years. And you're also you're spearheading the technological, the marketing, and the strategic alliances for Canon. Now, how do you mix these two worlds? How did the mixing started? Was it just a creative pursuit at the start, and then you got into this technology and the marketing aspect of photography, or it was the other way around?
Yeah, it's quite an interesting. I have hardly been put up a question like this because it's very much part of my the shift of my journey actually. So yes, photography. I have been coming from an IT background. That's my past. I've been working for one of the world's most prestigious brands for simulation designs. So I've been into simulator designs for automobile, for aviation, for a long time in India and outside India as well. But one of the projects actually in 2004, which was for, I don't want to name it on the public forum, it's confidential project for a very, very big automobile worldwide brand. And that's where it was a simulation project to design a simulator actually. And I have to click entire Delhi. I really mean it, entire Delhi, which took me some 10,000 pictures of bank, and that's where I started holding up the camera, because in a simulator you need to end up designing the whole 400 exercise was supposed to be designed for the simulator, and you need to have every integrity of the Indian driving system. So you have to go from India gates to building, hundreds of times getting caught up by the police while you're clicking into this zones, if you're in the Rashtrapati Bhavan zone and stuff like that. So I have to always carry important documents and permissions with me. And it also gave me a very fine learning. It's not just about pick up the camera and just start shooting. You need to know the pre-planning is, I think, makes your life easier on the sets and on the production ground. So that's where it started to trigger off, and I literally got in love with photography from that. Creative industry was something I was very much inclined right from the beginning of my career, because I started my career from IT to gaming industry actually. So I worked for a prestigious project for Electronic Arts, which is world's biggest gaming brand actually, one of the. And I was always inclined towards the mysterious side of games. How these kind of locations they pick, how they pick these locations. I've never seen location like this. So that's when my exploration started. So I've been exploring country and various outside the country, a lot of location, and picked up. And over the years, I realized that when I shoot mysterious things is something I love the most. You know, like something which has been unseen, something which is seen in hundreds and thousands of times in the daytime, but never saw the flip side of the time. You know, like how would a situation, how would, example, everybody wants to go to see Gulmarg, Kashmir colors, you know, like in the premium rich time, but nobody wants to visit when the lake is frozen with maybe some, I would say, 4 to 5 feet in the dull lake, and how the daily life turns, you know, like of the locals out there. So I started shooting that, you know, and that was one of the key reason of the Himalayas book I actually started working on, because that was the closest picture to see that what is real life. Likewise, then I started journey to all the like Northeast across, you know, like is one of my most favorite locations in India, right from Arunachal to Meghalaya. Like Meghalaya is on one of the top of the list. So getting deep dive into the living root bridges and stories of the tribals, and looking how people are so happy with simple things. So it's not just photography, of course, is a medium, whether we do videos and stills. So I've been now inclined with cinematography industry, mainstream fiction, non-fiction, because and that's where, because I love meeting a lot of people all over industry relations, incline my marketing part very importantly. So I wanted to bring various technology companies together. That's why I always do. I'm still doing that part. And I always wanted that the variety of work that is happening, both in still and motion pictures, is something. So I have been working day and night, like with a lot of industry people all over the country, whether it's from Hindi cinema to South cinema to regional cinema in East. I have been meeting variety of brains all over the country. So I think because the creative side is something I've been enjoying for a very long journey. And what else can be more innovative and interesting? Meeting one innovative person. Example, I'm meeting right now, Mr. Arindam, you yourself, and of course Ashwika. You know, like glad to know her, the Oscar achievement in such a young age. So I think this is something. Now I met 3 more new brains right away. So this is something I love doing it, and I think that's what have been brought me. Canon, I have been involved both into cinematography, something I have started in Canon in 2012. So, and with long journey with cinema industry, and I've seen, and now with the way things are emerging in the OTT segment, especially, you know, like things are getting diversified in opportunities, even for the young talents. And we can see not just behind the scene, but even on screen. Look at every series happening on the screen, hitting every week, whether it's various platforms. We have more than 42 platforms now. So you see the new talent coming up, and people are getting opportunities. So I think is really opening the gateways of opportunity
now. Right. Thanks, Gaurav. So one thing is in a common amongst 4 of us is that none of us had kind of clearly planned that we'll pass school, we'll pass college, and we'll do this. You know, Arindam was into completely something else altogether. Ashwika has just said that she used to do a lot of other things. You were into IT, Gaurav, and I was a journalist. So everyone did other things before doing what they are finally doing, right now. So Arindam, tell me, when say you are making a team for your new film, and you need a DOP, a director of photography, a cameraman, a sound designer, a music director, are you looking necessarily where these people went to study their craft from? Are you looking at their previous body of work? Or are you only looking at, okay, I should know these people very well. I have to spend 6, 8, 12 months with them over this project. I should be comfortable with them. I should be able to have a drink with them. They should be of the same wavelength. What exactly are you looking in your team members?
Firstly, I see to it that they're young. They're absolutely young blood. So,
you're being ageist.
So in my team, actually, the average age group is below 30, always. Okay. Because I find that this, people like Ashwika, people like Gaurav, there are so many things to learn. And I keep learning from my team members, from my family. And I don't think that there's any harm in, learning from youngsters. Rather, a film which I feel is an extremely group effort. And a director has to be confident enough to have members who are young and who have ideas instead of having established names. So that is something which I suppose is pretty much common with you and me, Pratim. We don't go for names, but we create names. And
Yes.
that is very important. I think that is my responsibility for the industry, that I create a better cinematographer, I create a better actor, I create and help somebody become a better editor. And you would find, and if this is a very common thing, that uh, I would always launch a fresh actor in my film, in every film that I do. At times there are about 2-3 actors that I would launch. So the thing is, I don't look at names, I don't look at New York Film School and FTII. I look at a young blood who has bubbling ideas in the head, who would sit across my table and would be able to impress me so much that I would want to sit down again with him or her and learn something more from him or her. If I'm reading out a script to my assistant director, I would expect that he would come up with something intelligent and criticize me. Nahi, Arindam da, ye logically galat hai. I want my people to come up on my face and tell me that. And that's when I grow that respect from the person who's on the other side. And I include them in my team. I don't need yes men in my team. I always keep my team, telling my team that till the time I go to shoot, till the time I go to floor, every one of you have this, because I always make a group, and now with the WhatsApp thing and Zoom becoming so popular, this kind of webinar,
Yes.
everything has become, it's a new aspect of interaction that has developed. So I always keep on saying that you have every right to come up to me and give me an advice, a suggestion. But when I'm on the floor, please don't come and give me. That's where I'm a Hitler. That's where all work is done, because I very seriously think that a film is done on the table. It is pre-production, which is so very important. Gaurav was just now talking about this simulation project. It made me remind of something which I did with Dibakar Banerjee when he was shooting Detective Byomkesh Bakshi. I was the line producer of the film. So he had created a virtual Kolkata, and he showed it to me. So this is how something which is of a different science altogether, which is coming into cinema, which is being required into this craft. Previously, it was about script, it was about photography, it was about basics. Right now, we are talking about motion control. We are talking about far advanced stages. We are talking about making films like Interstellar and Gravity. So the scope, the horizon has increased like anything. And I need people from various parts and spheres of life. And I would look at people with ideas, bright, new ideas, people who would be able to impress me, because I'm a very difficult and a hard nut to crack. But I would need people who would impress me and who would come and, throw something new at my face and say, hey man, I know this better than you, so you take it from me. I'm ready as a director to accept that.
Right. But that's the creative team. But what about the technical team? Mani, would you want your DOP to be someone who's passed out of an FTII or an SRFTI, has that formal education? Or you're okay with a self-taught DOP also. Like we have both worked with
Yes.
Goirik, who was a self-taught DOP.
Of course.
We now work with Shubhankar. Shubhankar is from Rupkala Kendra. So there, it cannot be a benchmark that which, you know, have you passed from UCLA? Where have you passed from? I will only take you from there. It is how good you are.
I'll exactly tell you something, Prateen. You know, this is one aspect which you would agree, and all of us who are in this profession will agree, that it is not about studying in Oxford and Cambridge in cinema. It is about acquiring the knowledge and how best you can implement it with certain kind of creativity. So otherwise, all cinema, anybody who's associated with filmmaking would be heading towards artificial intelligence. You know, I was actually coming to that. I was reading somewhere, and I genuinely feel that this is going to be the future, that 20 years from now, it is artificial intelligence who's going to take charge of all professions, all across, except art. Art is going to be the only field which requires this. And for that, which requires a certain kind of creativity. So I have found far better creativity may be somebody who has come out of FTII. For example, Goirik. Why did I get so impressed with Goirik? And we worked together because he threw some lovely frames at me, which I felt that very few DOPs in Kolkata can, you know, bring it up at certain cost, at a certain budget. At the same time, why am I so impressed with Obi? I call him the professor. He's experimenting with motion control. He's creating his stuffs because he is from FTII. He is from certain background, but he has used his skill, his passion, his everything to develop further. That's why whether a Shujit Sarkar or a Sujoy Ghosh or say Arindam Sil would love to work with Obik Mukhopadhyay. So this is how you cannot pinpoint. But having said that, I am not closed. I'm not closed. You know, I worked with this young DOP called Sunita Radia. I saw her and met her. She did filmed Tanishta Chatterjee's last film, Rom Rom Me, and I watched the film with Tanishta and her at the film festival, and I felt, oh man, she's good. And then she said that she's done it within a certain budget and a certain number of days, which unlike Mumbai,
Very critical for us.
DOPs, yeah. So I felt that if she's been able to achieve this within this little time, then she ought to be good. So let's check her up. And we got together and we worked for this film of Sikkim that we did. So as I said, I'm absolutely open and I don't get impressed by big names, tags. Only thing that impresses me is talent.
Yeah, I think the key point here is that whether you're offering something which no one is offering,
Correct.
you have to be unique. You have to be,
Absolutely.
from the crowd, you have to emerge as someone who is offering something which no one is offering. I think that is the key. Obik Mukhopadhyay started working with Mrinal Sen and Rituparna Ghosh, and today he's constantly evolving. You cannot stay stagnant and rest on your old laurels.
You've said that.
Evolving.
Pratim, you said that. Evolving is the word, which I was telling a while back. It's so very important that we evolve. And right now, in the segment of filmmaking, as I said, there is a whole gamut of a place where you can work. Whether it's visual effects, whether it's CG, whether it's, as Gaurav pointed out, about creating, such things. There are so many things that has evolved. The production designing involves so many various inputs from so many various professions. So I can tell you that this industry, the media industry, is growing. It's growing and it's becoming interesting by the day. Absolutely.
Ashwika, one of the reasons people get into filmmaking or stay associated with filmmaking in some form, as an actor, as a director, in some form, is the glamour that is associated with the world of movies.
Yeah.
Easy access to page 3. You don't even, there's a constantly people are talking about you. There's a buzz, and in your social circles, you are like, I'm a filmmaker. But when it comes to you, you have chosen to be in a branch of filmmaking which very few people actually know about. And even if they know about, they don't necessarily know about the people behind those films. They watch it. They watch the BBC productions. They know about David Attenborough, but they might not know about an Ashwika Kapur who's won a Green Oscar. So does it bother you ever that, I'm doing so much, I might be in a league of my own, but, very few people talk about me, and some starlet who has done 1.5 films and 2 scenes, and she is all over page 3. Does it bother you?
Absolutely doesn't bother me, because I do what I do because of the end product of it, because something like nature filmmaking, which contributes towards conservation, which contributes towards environmental stories, towards education, towards awareness, that has nothing that with the, I mean, the people behind it is not, whether they are on page 3 or whether their lives are constantly on display is not the point. I do this because I feel, as a nature lover, as a storyteller, I have a responsibility of telling stories of environment and conservation. And so long as the films I make, fortunately, touch wood, so far they've had the effect that I would hope that they would have. So long as the films I make have the desired effect, whether that is to bring about awareness, or whether that is to inspire somebody, any of those things, towards loving the natural world, towards wanting to protect it because you've come to love it, then that for me is the greatest reward. If you are going to, so if me being on a magazine cover happens once in a while, but that's really not something that drives me in terms of what I'm doing. So something like nature filmmaking is very different. The repay, the sort of the gratification that you get out of it is very different from what commercial cinema, the kick that you get out of commercial cinema. I get a kick out of getting somebody who doesn't frankly know the difference between a lion and a tiger to suddenly watch a film on frogs and say, oh my God, that was awesome. I didn't even know these frogs exist. What else do they do? I mean, these people probably didn't even know the difference between 2 big cats earlier. It's about being able to touch the most difficult thing in people, which is indifference. If you're able to convert indifference, if you're able to sort of convert the unconverted, because I tend not to preach to the choir. I don't make natural history films for people who, or for conservationists. I don't make them for people who are already inclined towards things like that. I make it for people like you all, just regular people. And if my films are able to touch them, then that is my reward. That is exactly what I do it for.
That's a very rare thought process, I must say, and keep it up as you become more and more celebrated. I'm sure
But if I
there
may,
will be other thoughts.
if I may interrupt, Prateen, but it is such varied minds, such varied minds which get together to create this whole gamut of cinema. And cinema is not just commercial cinema. Let's get out of that. And if we are talking about, if we are to keep aside Ashwika's love and passion about that, if we are to talk about professionally, the kind of career opportunity that wildlife photography, wildlife filming has, historical photography has, and the kind of films that are being made, we see very few only on BBC or National Geographic, but there's this huge gamut of films like that which are being made, and such kind of, we have very few people in Kolkata who are getting into this kind of, and people like Ashwika, that's why they are unique, and there is a growing demand of people like that. So if we are talking about professional,
ideally, people like Ashwika should become role models
correct,
for a lot of people to take up something like
Very
this and not only be infatuated by the glamorous aspect of filmmaking. Gaurav, one thing I've been wanting to ask you from the time I got to know that you are on the panel is that how, as a representative of Canon, how are you planning to, or how are you combating this onslaught from the mobile phone companies? When iPhone has got Damien Chazelle, the man who made La La Land, to make a film just for them, you know, and Redmi has a new phone which has like 128 megapixel camera or something like that. How, as Canon, as someone who wants to get into filmmaking in a major way, how do you plan to combat?
Well, quite an interesting question. And yes, now we have become like PhDs to handle them now, because it's not from now, it's for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
So I think one thing is very simple to understand. What I love to shoot from a mobile, while we are all mobile users all over the world, right? But I think the discipline of using a mobile largely when it comes to filmmaking, or even if you're individual entrepreneur filmmaker, largely depends that how you document. I think I can brilliantly make a recce from my phone, or I can brilliantly do a kind of a different storyboard even with my phone of locations, what kind of shots, what kind of compositions I need to make, and then pick it as a brilliant reference point. Yes, why mobile is building up gradually, because problem is not the megapixel, problem is the uneducation about the megapixel. People are desperately wanted, haven't got an understanding, higher the megapixel, better is the photograph. If Hasselblads and those kind of cameras, which were always designed for medium format, were clearly designed because you wanted to do billboards, you wanted to do big film banners, you want a very, very high resolution print or a very massive size to be put up outdoor, on the locations and stuff like that. So you need a very massive megapixel, and still there now, even that is not a barrier too much. So megapixel race is very simple to understand. Imagine a phone now getting from an 8 megapixel to even 100 megapixels now. Does the sensor size is changing? So how can we, it's a very basic fundamental thing that what does the role of sensor is the heart of the camera. And I think filmmaking, and it's also a responsibility of the fraternity. Like if mainstream cinema, tomorrow all the major production, a great thinker and a director like Arindam Sil, right, is started to boil down to mobile phones, like kind of a cinematography, may not be end of his choice. That may not be his comfort zone. I think when it mobile comes to like, I may be an aspirer of a travel. I maybe have short stories on the streets, and I wanted to start a small YouTube channel out there. I may start to choose in some way to get the grip of the audience that is my content acceptability is happening. So mobile has got its hundreds of restrictions. What would you do with a mobile in night? I want a shot in night, which can do like in maybe maybe at a very, very low light performance. What do I do? I can't do that. What do I do if I have to zoom in a shot? Zoom is not meant for phones, like that's for, so let's forget about many other things. How would you do a time-lapse shot for a few hours of time? Like how would you blow and mobile content beyond mobile? Will you blow it off on a 72-inch screen, LED smart TV in your home or in a home theater, or will it ever touch to the mainstream cinema? Experimental technology is a way to position something, but in a country like India with 130 crores of population, it is not difficult to, even if you have 10% or 5% of them, switch to mobile phones. So I think that we are not worried about that at all. Yes, when it comes to the most entry-level camera, like compact, like DCs and all, yes, that I can say have been taken over because people have not the ease of clicking. People are more comfortable to just put that straight away through a Wi-Fi and internet directly to the social media. And that's where their more interest lies. So I think that is one thing. But now with all the latest, even the entry-level cameras, even still pictures also, all have got Wi-Fi and they are automatically connected to your phones and you send it across to social media. And the serious cinema, where our flagship cameras like, otherwise Canon would have never been serious that 2011 end, or I would say 12 beginning, when the flagship camera like Cinema EOS C300 came into the picture, which translated to C300 Mark II and now Mark III and 500 and 700, now full frame. Full frame in cinema is like a big, huge leap because it's going to enable all the full frame lenses to be done, like accordingly. And imagine with 1.2 kind of openings. Now, the problem is happening with the lighting, people, because the brilliant low light performance is really troubling, the light whole system, and the production cost is, I've been on the sets on variety of movies out there, and it has shrunk to more than 25% of the daily shift cost, because less the light, less the manpower, less the generating system, everything is in a chain reaction, and the manpower too. So cameras are getting compact, but they're getting very powerful brains, I would say. Likewise, even if you wanted to have a camera B, or you wanted to have a kind of a moderate budgets as well, because it varies, projects can be for 100 crores, projects can be even for 5 crores, right? So but concept and quality of the story doesn't lie only on the camera. So you always have choice to pick the smarter and economical zone also. Now the whole world knows about R5 and R6, the very recent 8K RAW on board, with capabilities, recording state on a chip, state in the camera, no external recorder. Is like opening the gateways, of the OTT segment, of the next level of YouTube. Imagine of the Coke Studios kind of shoot, that's elevating to a different standards, the YouTube station people, the music albums, the brilliant Tata Sky has got like Tata Sky Shots. We have short films are getting very popular now because they make it to all the international festivals, variety of places it moves. And I think with somebody like Arindam sir says, I'm happy to have somebody like a young guy sitting next to me, opening his iPad and showing his a short film. That's my actual talent, to show it and then talk, so I think that's showing is proving. Yeah. So I think it's a very well balanced. I think mobile has nothing to do with any worries of a very, very seven decades plus experience company like Canon. So we know the role of glass, we know the role of cameras as a technology, and we know the need of the industry people. Very, very closely we watch it. Arindam sir has said when he chooses a fresh DOP, he's not bothered what background or schools they come from. What matters is, can they be the eye of the director? If they can be eye of the director, things starts working on the set. It gets communicated just within the eyes. Forget about many things to be dialogues to be given on the set. So I think it's a fine balance. Canon is there, and even in the smallest segment, even in the DSLR, it's opening a very hybrid, great scope with its mirrorless technologies also now. And I think in the flagship cinema, where people want to stick to the larger cameras with the bigger, robust systems, of course, the 500s and C300s are there to play. It's a very balanced role. So we have solutions for all. So I don't think this is a worry at all, in my opinion. And I think students also, like I work with today I have worked with more than 200 plus academies and universities, all government, all private, been there. I've been to each one of them. You have been naming here also on the panel. I have seen people starting from the basic entry-level SLRs, graduating to the little more high frame, full frames SLRs to do their couple of mid-level of semesters, but they all end up on the big cameras. And that's what is their aspiration, because when they sit in front of Arindam sir, he will throw some industry jargons that, have you been familiar of using these kind of cameras? So these kind of, a producer is going to have that question. A DOP might be selecting assistant DOPs on a big flagship series, will have all these questions, because now you are in a series, you have like 4 or 5 cameramen. So so you need to have that all comfort with the latest technology. So this is a message to the students, because it's an education panel we are right now today on. So they have to be familiar with all the up and running technologies right now. So that's my follow-up.
True. We'll take a few questions, lots of questions coming in. So we'll try and club questions. So there's someone called Shubhankar Ganguly is written to Mr. Pratim D, Gupta and Arindam Sil. Please discuss about future of fresher filmmakers in Bengali film, if possible, step by step, those who have no backing in the film industry or any influential person. Then there's a question of Shubroto Pachal, how a boy from a rural village of Bengal can fulfill his dream, making his film. What should be his tactics to make a film? Yeah, so this is the kind of question which is constantly coming up, Arindam. It's someone who wants to be a director, wants to make a film, maybe from somewhere in a village in Bengal or somewhere from Calcutta or somewhere. How does he go about? Does he go to an SRFTI, sit for the films exam, try to crack the exam and do a 4-year course in direction? Or does he go and assist a filmmaker, assist me, assist you, assist someone? How does he go about, according to you, what should be the correct approach?
Firstly, which if I am taking a class of students and speaking to them, the first thing that I will say with an underline, and that is this shit of nepotism and favoritism which is going on. Just have this out of your mind. First, focus yourself whether you want to become a filmmaker or not. So this idea behind your mind, if you are coming into a profession with something behind your mind stating that मेरा अगर कोई हुक नहीं होने से हम फलाना नहीं बन सकते, that's absolute shit. Sorry for using this term because it enrages me. First, prove yourself. Create a small 1-minute film with your camera, with your iPhone. Come and show it to me. Why me? Anybody, a producer will also take it if you have that talent. So it's very important. Words and things like this absolutely enrages me. How many films have you watched in your life that you are now telling that you want to become a filmmaker? Tell me. Even at this age, and after giving so many hits, still I think that I have done nothing for cinema. And I would go, right now I have 102 new films on my laptop, Vimeo links, which has come from the Kolkata Film Festival. And whenever I'm getting a chance, I'm watching them. Because I want to see what a filmmaker from Iran is doing. I want to see what a filmmaker from Philippines is doing. It's so very important to remain a teacher. You can come from any goddamn place on earth if you have the talent and if you can come out with that. So you will come and tell me, what is talent, sir? How do I prove it? There's only one way of doing it. First thing Ashwika told us a while back is that field experience. That's majorly important. First is you must have that passion, that goal, that fire inside you. That dunya bhar mein jaye, main filmmaker banunga.
Absolutely.
Okay. If I have that fire, there is nothing on earth that can keep me away. I was supposed to pursue my PhD. I was supposed to pursue academics. I became an actor. I tore up my I-20 form into bits. Never told my parents that I was inducted in the University of Florida, Miami for my PhD. But I told myself that I will be an actor. And for that, I will be one of the tops. I didn't have any catch. मेरा इतिहास में, मेरा परदाइशी इतिहास में, in my whole this thing family background, nobody is near to cinema. Pratim D. Gupta, I mean, do you have anyone? Would Kaushik Ganguly have one? Would Srijit Mukherjee have one? So, where does favoritism come from? This is one aspect where you have to prove yourself. Nobody will teach you. Nobody will teach you the craft of Fellini, of Godard, of Wong Kar-wai, of Inaritu. Nobody will teach you. You will have to understand that. These names sound Greeks to y'all? Then you shouldn't come for cinema.
Yeah, I
If
think one of
at
the
this stage of your life, I'm very sorry to be rude. If at this stage of your life, these names which I uttered just now are Greek to y'all, you should leave pursuing cinema. That's very important.
yeah, I think watching a lot of films is
It's
very important.
it's watching a
Yeah,
lot and lot of films,
lot of films.
reading a lot of books, because literature and cinema, they go hand in hand.
Absolutely. I started out as a literature student before.
Yes. That's so very important.
Yeah,
That's
and
so very
here I'd like to add to what you're saying. I get a lot of questions from a lot of young people who get very overwhelmed at the start, saying, "I want to do this. I want to be a camera person. What camera do I need to buy? What technology do I need?" I mean, I don't want to. Well, I don't want to beat about the bush, but at the end of the day, technology are tools for you to tell a story. They're machines. They're nothing more than that. So you hand a camera to a monkey, it's not going to be able to make a film. So the most important thing to learn really is the storytelling, it's the narrative, it's how to structure something, how to make it into a beautiful story. And then suddenly you realize, hang on, all I have is an iPhone, or all I have is this really old DSLR that I've taken from my dad, or whatever it is. So how do I tell a story with just this? That's all I have. But guess what? My Green Oscar winning film was made on $800 with a simple camera. It won the Green Oscar because it had a strong story. So don't overwhelm yourself thinking, this is only accessible by this one and we can't do this. The most important thing is to have that drive to be able to do something better without, even if you don't have the access to the other stuff. And I think that's the beginning of how you.
I'll just add a few more points.
Yeah, of course.
Ashwika.
Yeah.
And it is that, in our MBA classes, in our marketing classes, we were taught something like, which used to be called SWOT analysis, SWOT, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threat. It's very important to make yourself feel like a brand or like a product.
Absolutely.
And evaluate yourself. Can you tell a story? Exactly. If you are to ask, if you are told कि एक मंडी पर एक 4 line लिखो, can you do something unique out of that? Which means if you can do that, and which is unique, then you realize that there is a storytelling technique within you. The kind of photographs that you take, is it different from others? It's the same old Victoria Memorial that 1,001 people clicks, but do you still go there and get a different angle?
Yeah.
Then you are unique. Yeah. Then you have that capability. So first, evaluate yourself. Ami ki parbo? Can I do that?
Absolutely.
Then I will have to hone up my skills. Then there are, of course, schools. There are field experience, everything. I stand in front of the mirror right in the morning. Oh, I'm so pretty. I'm so handsome. Hey, man, I can be Tom Hanks, man. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. Tom Hanks have to, beat the shit out of his own life to become a Tom Hanks. It's so very important because you try and understand. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are wanting to become an actor. And there are very few who can become a one Anthony Hopkins, a one Soumitra Chatterjee, or a one Tom Hanks. So you don't have to be that. But then to be part of a certain industry, you definitely have to first evaluate yourself. Secondly, do everything possible. If you want to get into cinema, then get into the habit of watching at least 2 films a day. And films of all across the world. Right from Iran to Serbia to Argentina to Brazil to Japan to anywhere. Korea to anywhere. But you have to watch. Because right now, the competition is incredible. Sorry, I'm taking 2 more minutes.
No. Please
but this competition is fierceful. Try and understand. such young people, young talents coming up from everywhere. They're just coming up and doing it. You know, when I was speaking to Mr. Kamal Hassan, who I think is, oh my God, he's like, technically, he's so sound. As a filmmaker, you have to understand each and every aspect of filmmaking. Just an action cut, roll sound doesn't make you a film director. You have to understand acting, you have to understand VFX, you have to understand camera, you have to understand light, you have to understand costume, you have to understand color palette, you have to understand every field of filmmaking to become a film director. Then only you become a Christopher Nolan. Not like that. So then what happens is, you know, this has become so fearful. I was talking about Mr. Kamal Hassan. He was saying that he did his Vishwarupam 2 in 6 Blackmagic cameras. Can we beat it? Just with 6 Blackmagic cameras, he did that entire film because he didn't have the right kind of budget, and he felt that this film will do justice. Coming to what Gaurav was saying, yes, as a filmmaker, I need to understand what is the kind of texture my film is. Just because my producer has the money and would give me an Alexa LF Mini or whatsoever, you know, I will take it. I will go to the floor with 2 Alexa Mini LF and start shooting. No. Even when I was shooting with my Alexa, I had shot portions of my film with iPhone also, because I felt that that texture was required. So for that, you know, what is it? What a Canon will give you, what a Sony will give you, what an Alexa will give you, or what a Red will give you, you ought to know as a director. Time is so very limited. An educational institution will give you what? Will give you just 1 year, 2 years of, you know, input. No, that doesn't help. The world has to be your input. Your whole life has to be brought within the gamut of, you know, absorbing everything to become. It's an extremely difficult profession. But yes, if you have the fire, and if you have the power with it, you will be able to do it.
Just to add here, I don't know, Pratim, if you want to take more questions, otherwise just add a point.
No, you can add. I'll take more questions, but you can definitely add.
I think a lot of students, you know, might have wanted to understand, and I think they have got a very deep insider today, probably. But I think they all have to learn that it's all like that. You wanted to do a skydiving as one of your dream list. So getting up in the air, you know, like in a small chopper, you know, like on a small chartered plane is not difficult. And when you go up, you have to be ready that you are alone. So think, if you're an artist and you have chosen to be on an artistic line, it is like getting prepared that you have a phobia of height and you're going to do a skydiving. So you need to get into the plane, and then so till the time you are still inside the plane, people give hell to your work, to your art. The moment you're out of the plane, you know, like with a camera over your head, and when it gets posted, this is the highest jump, you know, from a plane ever in the world, and an Oscar comes to you or a Guinness World Book of Records comes to you, the world knows you. See the power of art. So it always has to start from a courage to take decision that the world is not with you.
Absolutely.
Like, it is, nobody is with you actually in art, and that's how you start. You have to only follow your instincts that I want to do this. I don't give it a damn where it will go. And this is the problem of the present generation. They want they want it like a buffet.
Instant.
Yeah.
Instant coffee.
Like buffet. Everything is dishes prepared. They don't know how, they are happy to have an amazing, you know, like R march or something with a gravy out there, but they don't know how to cook they don't want to cook. They don't want to get into the kitchen easily. They want it to be like, they want to order on Zomato. So
see, like an instant coffee, coffee will never give you that flavor of a French press coffee. You have to understand that. You have to let it brew. You have to give it that time. That's okay.
Very true.
Actually, the most
But
important.
at the same
so just to add it, yes, education institution, yes, with due respect to them. But the point is, why do we enter in an art education? Why somebody enters in FTII or SRFTII or NID? Even for that matter, I hope IITs for that matter, like let's say in a car like Nano, which got designed by an NID students in Ahmedabad. Look at the wonders it has done. it has made people think too that all the two-wheelers owner in the country, that now I can own a car. So who says the art has got restriction and it cannot be amalgamated nicely? I have done so many of shots in deepest, smallest towns of the country. And whenever I've been sitting over with some very senior DOPs or directors, or like, I can guarantee you when I will sit over a next meeting, when this lockdown finish, I'm going to meet Arindam sir for sure in Calcutta for my next visit. And 100% there could be some of the shots from some part of the country. He would pop up with an idea that this is the kind of location I want to shoot next. You know, like what are the restrictions? And I can tell all the restriction and simplified or complex levels of permissions that could bother the whole production thing, because I've already gone through with that. So a lot of information and learning. You are from journalism. Who would go deeper to the smallest town of tier 3, tier 4 or 5, you know, like than a journalist, so to have every smallest story happening of anything. So now think of those, that's why you are able to write so great, because, and if writing and some, as he mentioned on a question that I'm from a small town and all that, I think this should be omitted and deleted as a thought process, otherwise imagine why are biopics from the time Milkha Singh got hit some few 7-8 years back, why biopics is coming like a revolution now? Why would a lady like Maricom from Manipur would get super hit in the world? Who wanted to know stories from Manipur, by the way, in the country? So I think it is a story that builds everything. And then yes, education system is like that, you have the river flowing already and education becomes a canal to channelize the water in a that to have things in a properly organized way. But yes, the journey has to, again, it's a short journey of 3 to 4 years in that school, but again it's going to be a red ocean open back. You're going to be thrown in the red ocean of competition. So they have to keep interacting with different experiences and explore a lot, learn a lot, watch a lot, read a lot, visit a lot, talk to people, know people, make thousands of friends all over the EU. I think that is all required even for the art. Even if I'm a painter, I have a new thought to want to paint. I need to know it first. How would it won't come in my dream. Dreams don't work scientifically if you have not had that experience in the past. It is always connected to something we have experienced or seen it. So it is not creative, it is recreation. Always. From some small pinch of salt of thought, and it can blow up like a dinosaur. So I think so that's what is
wondering if I can add something to that actually.
Yes. I'll also add. Yeah.
I mean, for me actually, I feel like a lot of people who are very, very passionate and very have big dreams, but they tend to give up very early. The thing is, as soon as you pick a career that's not going to be a traditional, I'm going to finish school, then do college, then do this, and then do that, and then get into a conventional career. As soon as you step outside the box, it is going to be challenging. It does not matter whether you're coming from a small place, something else happens, everybody will face some challenge or the other. And during that period, which may last many, many years, the acid test is tenacity. You have to stick with it. If you are determined that no matter what it throws at you, this is what I'm going to do. I do not care if I'm a female. I do not care if people don't look at me and think, oh, wildlife filmmaker, are you kidding me? Aren't you supposed to be a 40-year-old man wearing camouflage and a big hat? If it doesn't matter if there's skepticism, it doesn't matter if people don't believe in you at that point of time. Stick with it. And suddenly you'll see after a certain time that you've honed your skills, you've become better at it, you've gathered the experience, you've made the contacts, and suddenly you'll see one day, hey, this is rolling along. I'm suddenly in this industry, I'm doing things, and I'm established. And I didn't even think when I started out that I'd get this far. So erase that word can't do out of it. If you really want to go after it and you have the talent for it, it will not go unnoticed. That's a guarantee.
So, Ashwika,
a lot of questions coming in about script writing.
Yeah.
So I'll just take one quick. So a lot of questions. What do I do if I have a script? Where do I go? I think one of the first things you need to do is to register your script. I think that adds not only sanity for yourself, that your idea stays with you and no one takes your idea. Also, the person you are handing over the script, they would know that you are serious about what you are doing. And how to go about writing a script, I think there are lots and lots of scripts on the internet, which are of Oscar-winning films, which are of films that you have loved. Read them, understand the format in which scripts are written, and tell your story in that way. If you can join a script writing course, nothing like it, because there is a technical aspect to script writing. It's not entirely an artistic pursuit. So that technique is something which you need to say. And one thing I think which everyone on this panel will agree, you will watch a lot of films, you'll read a lot of books, but when it will come down to telling your story, it should be your story. Yeah, the more local you go, the more global it becomes. You have to tell your story. That's something Meera Nair keeps saying, that if we don't tell our stories, who will? So don't try to make a film like Tarantino or Nolan. Tell your story, what's happening in your village, because that is unique, which the world needs to know. The biggest example is this Korean filmmaker who was the toast of the world, Bong Joon-ho. So yeah, and we're kind of now coming towards the end. Any closing thoughts from all of you? I think there is we spoke a lot about on the ground training being much more important and crucial than in the classroom training. So, ending on that note, is there, yeah, we'll end with what I started with. Is the career in films, videography, photography a viable option? And what's ahead for someone who wants to take this up in the years to come?
Let's take this and let's take this in an extremely positive viewpoint of,
yeah.
As I said, that every day this gamut and the scope of work in this field of media and entertainment is growing. See, during our times, when we were students, when we were opting for a career, our parents would say, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंसी अथवा कॉस्टिंग या तो डॉक्टर बन जाओ या तो इंजीनियर बन जाओ, दैट्स ऑल. ज्यादा से ज्यादा आईपीएस या आईएएस, बस. देयर वाज नथिंग. सो कट टू my daughter. I asked her when she was almost in her class 11. I asked her, well, at 12, I asked her, what do you plan to do? She said, Papa, I want to become a graphic designer. And I rattled my this thing and I wanted to ask myself, what the hell is that? I mean, what does graphic designers do? So the young generation is so ahead of us, and there is so many things which is happening. And with the OTT platforms, let us not see, we are constantly saying that OTT is posing a challenge for cinema. No, cinema will never die. The big screen will never die. I always feel that till the time humanity exists, survives, cinema will also survive. The big screen will survive. But see that, aspect of it, that the positive aspect of it, that right now we have another platform where we are being able to create certain kind of content. That is why a Nasiruddin Shah or a Abhishek Bachchan is also working in such segment. Yeah. See, the kind of film that Shakuntala Devi or this other film, Gulabo Sitabo, say got released, it is not just because that they got good money. Okay, that's an aspect, but the thing is, they were more made like OTT content films. They fit the bill well. So what is going to happen is, like, there's this whole gamut is increasing. We need to identify what kind of content we are making. A film, when we are sitting in the theater, normally we don't want to sit through more than 2 hours. But again, we have come back to making contents, which is about 4 hours, which is 6 hours, and we are viewing this on the OTT platform. See this recent film like which Tom Hanks has done for Apple TV called Greyhound. You know, it's a perfect example of a film for that small screen,
Format.
that format. It's a perfect example. So the scope is unlimited, but you have to gather up and focus yourself. You have to make yourself unique with your, what is it that best you can? Is it photography? Is it editing? Is it writing? Is it acting? You have to understand within yourself. You could be one of the most handsome man in your locality, but maybe you'll see that acting is not your foray, writing is your foray, so go for that. I mean, nobody has told you that you have to become, nobody has pointed a gun on your head and said ki acting karna hai, tumko actor banna hai. I'll end with one small story, inspirational story, but first hand. I was one day sitting with Mithun Chakravarti, Mithunda, and he's like an elder brother to me, and I've spent a lot of time with him. And this was one of the time when I was, he just off and on, like he was in his philosophical self at that time. And he said, Janish, do you know, there would be far better actors than a Mr. Amitabh Bachchan or a Shah Rukh Khan or a Salman Khan. But what is it that has made them what they are? And the other actors who are far better actors are not what they are. So I said, what? He said, I genuinely feel that there is a blessing of God in them. And there is some kind of tenacity, some kind of, great positive things in them which make them what they are. It's not so easy. Cut to, I was sitting with, I was sitting with Shah Rukh Khan. So I remembered what Mithunda has said, and I told Shah Rukh that this is exactly what Mithunda has said, and he said that you guys are blessed. Do you agree to that? You know what Shah Rukh said? He said, Arindam, I think he was true. And I looked at him and I felt, oh my God, this man has got so much of arrogance. It's actually not. Shah Rukh said, coming from where I come from, Arindam, and where I am today, is all because a huge hard work that has been put in. But if I talk about my son, he has everything on earth, everything possible on earth available to him. But would he become a Shah Rukh? That gives all the answer. That gives all the answers. See, there has to be a certain kind of focus. You have to make cinema your religion, your dharma. Why is it that South Indian films are, despite being regional films, so-called, they do so great. They pose challenge. Even, the first of the biggest budget film has been a South Indian film, not a Hindi film.
Yeah, it's always South.
Why? Because down in the South, cinema is religion for everyone. Make cinema your religion.
Yes.
If you, as Soumitra Chatterjee kept telling me, if you give 100% to cinema, then only cinema will give you 20%. And if you have achieved 20%, consider it your great luck. You've achieved a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashwika. Your thoughts, final thoughts on everything we have spoken about. What do you want to, tell someone who wants to become like you?
Wants to become a wildlife filmmaker. Okay, first of all,
why not?
Yeah, so everybody's journey is very different when they're following their passions and you're doing something out of the box. I would like to repeat again, there's going to be 100 different challenges, which even I can't predict for you, because if your situation is unique, I had my different challenges. But the most important thing is to choose something, the formula for success is to pick something you love and give it your absolute best and forget about the challenges, keep giving it your best, and somehow, someday, success follows. That's really how the formula works. And as far as specialized fields like wildlife filmmaking, etc., are concerned, I would definitely first recommend getting field experience before you dive into a course. If you want to do a course, there is nothing wrong with that, because a course teaches you certain things and puts a lot of things in a silver platter in front of you, which you're able to learn from. But if you've got the experience and you already know that this is exactly what you want to do in life and you're really good at it, and then you go for the course, you're going to be much better at the course and you're going to get more out of it. So any specialized field, very specialized field, first get a taste of what it is like out there. And once you know for a fact this is it, this is your calling in life, then maybe you can do a course, or maybe you won't even need to do a course. Maybe you'll just dive straight into the industry. So be brave.
So I think that's a very handy advice even for mainstream filmmaking.
Absolutely.
If you go to the sets of a film and maybe you are joining as an assistant director, by the,
you may hate it. You may hate it.
And by the end of the
journalism
shoot,
for a while.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way I can do this. I'm not going to talk to politicians all the time. I can't do it. So it was different kind of wildlife. I could not deal. So there's everything you're cut out for. So you try things and you eliminate by experience. And when it's right, you just know that, I am so good with editing. I'm going to do this. So then, that's how you do it.
And there are so many streams in filmmaking, and human beings are so different. Some people like the chaos. Some people want to be in the middle of the circus. Some people prefer being alone, sitting and writing, or sitting and editing alone in a room. So you have to understand what is calling out to you.
Absolutely.
And you have to answer that call. And it just want to be in the movies. That's too vague.
And also I want to be a bit harsh. Sometimes I want to do certain things. Like I would love to, go to the moon, but I can't. So there's certain things that maybe you're not cut out for. Maybe there's things, in a filmmaking, you might really want to be a camera person, but it's not working out. You're so much better at editing, or you're so much better at the scripting. So don't, once you recognize your talent, it's very important to do that self-assessment that Arindam was talking about, to know exactly what you're really good at, what you're original at, what you're unique at, what is really what you bring to the table. And when you recognize that and push that one, you'll suddenly feel like you're getting somewhere.
Yeah. Gaurav, one of the questions which came up, maybe that will kind of trigger you for your closing thoughts is, do you need a lot of money to become a photographer with all the tools and instruments?
I think money follows the art. I would say to start that. So art is not something that is bought by money, but I think art can definitely bring money for sure. And yes, I would only say that, gradually, it's a gradual process, so of course, I was also had a small camera, which I realized after 10 years, actually it was a small Canon. My father was a techno freak to have gadgets. So I never realized that he had a camera, which was actually like some 15 years back, 1995, more than that. And I used it after very many years after that. It's a small Canon underwater camera. And I am I love diving and shooting underwater as well, but I realized it after so many years, it can go underwater. So I think the tools that we start from, I think is can always be the entry levels cameras as well. And I think you should be because you are getting into the field of art, you should never have too much of pressures of paying EMIs and installments of the technology rather than spending maximum time on art. So start with basics. What matters in the beginning, story will always be in the top, whether it is still picture or motion pictures, fiction, non-fiction, either ways. I think story should always be there on your mind, even if it's a simple plant or a tree or an ant picking up a sugar cube. You need to have an eye to see it absolutely differently from the rest of the 1,000 people. So I think that's where it starts from. So, and then the process maybe can be started with always maybe the combination of mobile phones and all that, a bit of it, to accumulate your ideas properly, to have your whole self exercise, gradually enter into a small camera, maybe a compact camera, or maybe an entry level DSLR. Not with competition has also helped you to invest into economical cameras. Have not become that expensive now, but gradually you will see that you may need some set of lenses. Example, if somebody is in the field of wildlife photography or cinematography, cannot survive without the zoom lenses. They always need the dearth of zoom as more as possible. They're always short of zoom, you know, like, so we know that in like, so it's a process. And technology doesn't bother you to always invest. There is a process. There are hundreds and hundreds of rental houses in the country. If you have an idea, if you know the location, if you have a story, I think rent it out and go. They are there to invest, and you get it at an economical price. Make a good group of similar mindsets if you wanted to start initially, and pull in the money, because students work with this format very easily if you can. Otherwise, cut off your try to have delay your process of girlfriends and boyfriends. Save some money for your passion, you know, like, and put it in your investment, in your technical stuff, in your cameras. And I think gradually over a period of time, I think maybe I would say over a period of 4 to 5 years and onwards, with a consistent research use in the field, you will automatically have that kick that I need to upgrade, you know, like, because you will have to come to a point of upgradation when your work is not in your Pandora box. It's out in the world. It's getting appreciated. It's being paid off. It starts to have a market value to it. So when we say that, when you popped up a question in the beginning, how do I amalgamate the role of being an artistic side of it and playing a highly complex role of strategy and marketing in Canon? Because I market art. And who doesn't do marketing? A film needs marketing to get out of the world. You know, like a script needs a marketing. A wildlife filmmaker needs to market. She has to go to hundreds of people if she has to make a pitch. You know, like that, and get it. Tomorrow, if she has a dream to work on a big scale, a Blue Planet kind of film for National Geographic, she has to know marketing. Nobody, I think, in the world can survive without marketing skills now.
I hate it, but I do agree with you.
You love it, you hate it, you need to do it.
I know,
you know,
it's
like,
true. It sucks, but you have to do it.
So it's important, but you need to have proportions of it. It is not like you need to become a marketing, like a doctorate to it, but you need to have at least a basic skill how to sell your work. Absolutely. You know, how to sell your piece of work, you know, like whatever form of art you have picked up. So to all the students, the advice to academies who have joined out here, that have that piece of cake in your mind, gradually upgrade, you know, like have entry to mid to full frames to whichever way you want it. And you know, a stage will happen. You may stop investing in the camera bodies, and you will start investing maximum in the lenses and hell of accessories around it. You know, like, because you wanted some kind of a splendor or a shot in the outskirts of West Bengal, you know, like, or you wanted to do some amazing species which only comes out at night. So you need a kind of a technology, like we have a camera called ME20 FSH, which shots in zero light.
Yeah, military grade at night.
Zero light camera, you know, like, which is 0.0005 lux, less than a mastic, you know, like, so it can record with colors in that. And I can guarantee you that if, as Arindam sir also mentioned, when people wanted to use, why South is have got so much of courage, because they are the first one to jump in anything new. They are fearless. You give them any damn camera in latest in the market, they will like postmortem it overnight. You know, like, and they all have no doubts that, okay, we will only follow this camera. They were smart enough to take advantage of all style of cameras, that this comes out best from this. This is the color gamut is best from this. Low light is performance is brilliant.
Yeah,
so it's a balance. And these days, like Arri and Canon goes out of the 10 shoots, they are on 7 shoots together, because the color gamut matches 96%. And now joining hands today, because the post-production has gone to a very different level of comfort now, and the kind of capabilities. So yes, it's a fine triangle from pre-production to the production, to the post-production, to the on-screen DCPs out. So one has to really know fundamentally the whole process, no matter which role you're playing at the whole project and all. So my point, closing remarks is that be courageous, Remember the skydiving point. I would recall that point, that is the way to start it off. Your heart is going to beat like 150 times a minute when you start it off, but gradually it will settle. You'll get that comfort zone. But yes, sir has given a very good example. Like, people must be astonishing when he will tell a word of Shah Rukh Khan that something else will come out. See, a simple word, hard work. We know the spelling very well, we know the meaning very well, but when it comes to implementation, it's really, really take your brains out, and your heart out. So you have to be focused, remain consistent, be ready for critics 24/7, because that's going to happen. Hundreds of people will like, 5 lakh will not like. So this is the proportion of percentage of people liking your style of work, because people like your work who are of your like of brain. So I think there's a piece of percentage for everybody. And I think with that note, people should remain positive, very, very, very positive. What they wanted to choose and pursue it. And technology is something they should invest with matter of time, and gradually keep investing it more of like a mutual funds in long run. It will encash you back. Yeah.
Thank you, Gaurav. So yeah, I think all our panelists are very clear. There was no debate amongst them. See, what is the road ahead? The road ahead seems very simple, which is stay positive.
We all know each other for too long. That's why there were no debates. What to do?
Be passionate about what you do. Understand what you do best. Don't do those things which you don't do well. And don't think of all the negative things in the world which you read on social media about,
including Corona.
About big filmmakers not entertaining everyone, only allowing certain group of people. Reach out to people. If you're an actor, send your, make a show reel. If you're a technician, make a show reel. Reach out. Everyone has a production house now. Reach out to Arindam production house. Reach out to me. Maybe we can leave our emails, Arindam. It's a select group of people who are.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So in the chat here, we are leaving our emails. You can write in with whatever be your query or whatever you want to pursue.
I think there's lots of question and answers that we didn't address.
Yeah, there are so many questions that
maybe
obviously
we can take those questions either on Facebook.
Arindam, what email would you like to give?
I'm typing it in the chat.
Okay, super. So write in again, as Gaurav said. Sell yourself well in that email. Don't just say, I'm a very good dancer, please cast me. So be smart, write what exactly you're looking for. And maybe, if it interests us, if we can spot the uniqueness in your, endeavor, we will get back. There is, we love to celebrate new people. If you can see our films, we work with new people behind the camera, in front of the camera, and that is the way it should be. We should be open to new ideas and new people. And if formal education is something you choose to do, with the formal education, please carry on a hands-on education on the set of a film, or as an intern, or assisting someone. It is going to really help your theoretical education so much more. And,
I will just, this is one very important aspect that you just touched, and especially for students, it's very important to say that, education is extremely, extremely important. To be a part of cinema, anything, whether you're an editor, whether anything, a scriptwriter, a filmmaker, whatever, it's so very important to know the world, have proper knowledge of the world. It's very important. And to be an aware human being. You don't have to be an MBA, you don't have to, but then the thing is, what is so very important is an aware human being who has this interest of, taking everything from every part of life.
Very true. As for Ashwika and Gaurav, I think ABP wedding, ABP education.
Wedding, okay.
ABP wedding.
Very
ABP
tight.
education.
This is where I follow.
Was that a Freudian slip, Ashwika? Never mind.
Yeah, I've been
So
looking for Tarzan for years.
ABP Education will connect to you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. You've been a lovely audience. We have been to webinars, but I think this has been one of the most attentive audiences. Yeah, she's left her Facebook page. I think she'll respond.
I can add my Insta page and my photography pages because I don't know what kind of questions they might wanted to come. So this is my IG handle.
Prateen, you can put my mail ID because I can't type from here. So,
yeah, tell me.
Arindam Sil at nvcinema.in.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get in touch with me on Facebook, on Facebook Messenger.
So thank you so much. Should we hand it over back to
ABP Wedding? Yes.
ABP Education. Anybody there from ABP Education?
I just saw a message to Ashwika. You are so pretty, ma'am.
After the wedding, after this plan.
No, it was
after the wedding thing.
Yes, I've planted the thought. Now it's going to work. Wait for the messages coming on your
different
Facebook.
kind of questions. Thank you so much, Prateen, for that.
Actually, I had shot an ad for ABP Wedding. I think that came naturally when I said ABP.
ABP, it's important to start something called ABP Wild now. Okay, please.
No, but I would like to take this opportunity to thank ABP Education. This absolutely wonderful initiative that is happening, and with so much of things are going to be on the net. E-education is becoming so very important, and it's going to be part of life. It's definitely a very good approach and initiative.
Absolutely. With that, we would like to conclude today's chat. Follow your dream. So that was our topic, and I hope we helped, even if it's a teeny-weeny bit, to follow your dream. Keep dreaming, and hopefully keep chasing that dream. Thank you so much. Thank you to the panelists, and till we meet again at some point in life. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye. See you.